Okay, outstanding. Charles, the floor is yours.
Well, I thank you for this. It was rather interesting how I got introduced to your group, but I'll leave that to Mr. Rickard to describe that if ever necessary. I started off in working with bees in my teenage years back in the early 70s. And bees have always been a lot of fun, but then over time and doing a lot of hard work, I developed quite a few different disabilities. Both shoulders are bad and my back and all like this. So going out here and doing the lift and to do all the managing and all the associated things in beekeeping was too much of a challenge. So not too long ago, I started thinking about how to make this easier for the hobbyist. Now talking with your group, possibly with people with other disabilities and other things of this nature. So I started looking at things and, I don't have to show everything because there is the videos and hopefully you had the opportunity to start looking at those. But to deal with a 40-50 pound medium super in weight and the bulk was, again, just too much. You probably remember seeing at some point in time, a long time ago, the old section boxes. And then I come across to the Ross and the Hog and a few other different types of systems, and they were rather interesting to me. And so in the middle of the night, I got up and started my computer and started doing some CAD drawings. It eventually led me to building boxes that would be similar to the Hog system, but without the complications associated with the Hog system. Again, personal preference, I never really like to put a natural product in an unnatural container. So having these plastic systems never was too high on my list of things that I would want to do. Also, if you really did some checking, bees are not very fond of plastic either. And so when you have the Hog system, to get them to draw out their honey to the outside edges so that you get a full 8 ounces into that box is a challenge. But we all know that bees actually love working in and around wood. And so I started working up the design in the wood format. Then there was also the situation on how to protect the cells, the cappings, the entire product so that it would not get damaged. Again, with the old section box, you had 2 open ends of cappings, and you know exactly what happens when you do any kind of a damage to that cappings. But when you have these assembled in a duplex format that just drop into the hive, now your cappings are facing each other, they're protecting each other until such time as you just want to remove this out. It's ready, put a lid onto it or not, and drop another box in, or wait until the entire hive has filled out all the boxes. And so you have all of those different choices. Each one of my boxes holds about 17 and a half ounces. So it's fair to say all the time that it's a 1 pound box. But again, what makes this so much different and unique, if you look at the Ross and the Hog, which are probably my closest type competitors, you don't have all the springs and shims and all the other apparatus that is required to manage it. And like the Hog system, it's kind of that all or none. You have to remove all of those boxes at one time, and hopefully they're all full, because if they're not, Now you got a challenge of trying to reassemble, drop them back into the hive, and to finish off. Even in my situation, if you have my boxes and you don't have a full fill out, take out the full ones and you can actually put your regular frames right beside, so that you can have a regular set of frames with foundation and cells and all of this, and then have mine setting right beside that as well to do the finish of the filling out the hive. I gave a lot of description in several different videos on my page, so hopefully that'll carry you through with some pictures and also some word description that would be helpful as well. Now, in your group here, dealing with people that have different challenges, physical or other, even you could get them working on a project like this, just building boxes as a little side business for the local beekeeps, so they don't have to build them themselves, because I ship it in the flat. And so it works for people with bees or without bees, and gives them opportunities of having some meaningful business in their life that gives them some form of community as well. But I tried to make this as straightforward and simple as possible. I wanted to remove all the complexities. So anything that I found that made the project difficult, I would engineer and re-engineer it. And this is actually the version 5 of that process. And I didn't even count the first few processes of my my test program. But now this here is a very simple, easy to use program, from the setting it up in advance to the maintenance through the season until such time as you harvest. And now I'd rather answer questions, because I think a lot of this is pretty well covered, and you're all bee people anyway, so I don't need to tell you things that you already know. So hopefully I can respond to any questions that you all may have.
So Charles, this is Joe Ricker. I wasn't familiar with the hog system, so I did some Googling. Does anybody have any questions on what the hog system is? Okay.
I just Googled it too to see what it was, so.
Well, the hog system is very similar to this. It's made in plastic. You have to cover all sides with a wax foundation. Otherwise, the bees they'll just leave that empty open space and they won't even fill in it. And then what you do is you actually stack a whole bunch of these, all the faces in one direction, and you drop this into a unit, and then you got to put some spacers in there, and then you got to put some shims, and then you put clips, and you lock it down, and then you drop the whole super on top of your hive. And then you wait until you think that it's full, and then you start pulling it all off and start separating it and looking inside, and then you put the lids on it. I forgot to mention, mine also has a lid, so there is no access for dust or critters or robbing or anything like this. So you can actually have a finished product at the hive and take it out as they are filled.
Does anybody in the group have experience with that? I've never tried either one of those techniques. Adam, I assume you probably have.
I've never used the hog system. I've seen it. I've done Ross rounds, but never the hog system.
Yeah, what I didn't like so much about the Ross round is you got to put that inside of a frame, and then you have the foundation in between the different rounds and then the corners. And what do you do with that? Cut it out and do a crush and strain. It just, to me, it's a lot more labor intensive. And again, you're pulling out 4 frames at a time, and they all have to be finished before you pull out the frame. In the Ross and the hog, it is all or none kind of a situation, where mine you can actually remove as it is filled.
So So I'll ask the group that what do we, what are the thoughts on this? I mean, I'm kind of interested to see how successful it would be in, you know, in a apiary or commercial apiary. I certainly have myself as a beekeeper thought about doing the cut comb. I didn't know if maybe I do see the weight difference, right? So you cut it into a quarter. Just any thoughts on there on trying it or interest in it?
I would love to try it. It looks really cool. And I've always wanted to do the hog system, never got it up in Canada. And like, good for you for doing this. It looks really, I'm on your Facebook page. It looks very exciting to me. I'm very excited about it.
I thank you about that. I have already shipped to Canada, into British Columbia, Canada. In that process, because of crossing the border, I actually shipped it to one other person that was going to visit their friend in Canada. So they carried it across, and they were just going to describe it if they were stopped by customs. When they said, what is this? They would just say, well, it's a wood puzzle. And there you go, because again, it's just little pieces. I got some lids right here that are disassembled. Let's see.
Hey, Charles, while you're looking, we had a question from Candy, and the question, and I have the same one, is how do you know when it's filled? Is that by feel, or can you actually see in it? How do you kind of know what's going on inside of it if it's not see-through?
Marvelous question. And that's actually one of the very best of questions. First off, again, showing this right here. Here's the 1 pound size, here's the 8 ounce size, and here's the quarter size sampler. And when you're looking in the hive, first off, you can assemble these in the duplex format where the cappings face each other. At that point in time, if you look just right here in the edge and you see cappings at the edge, you know through the entire center it is already filled. If you want to verify that, there's this little tiny tick of wood right here on 4 corners, just a little piece, just enough to hold it together. You can separate this just with, I always carry a little pocket knife with me all the time. You can separate it and look inside. If it is not full, put it back together, drop it back in. But you actually see right on the edge, when you just take the cover off your hive, if you see cappings on the edge, that box is full. It's just that simple. The same thing with the 8 ounce size. You just look in here, and if you want to verify, pull it up and rotate it around, make sure cappings are on all sides. But this again just drops right in, and this is the same size. Each box is the same size as your regular frame. And that's why these bee weighs match up, and they just drop right down. And so the bees have full lateral movement and vertical movement, or I mean, horizontal movement at the same, horizontal and vertical, yeah, at the same time, where the section boxes did not have that. They had no, it's either up and down or nothing. I made it so that they have full access toward the front and the back of the box, and you can stack these boxes as high as you want to go. And 3 of the 1 pound boxes, they will fit into a medium and a deep super. So if you wanted to stack 3 of the 1 pounders, or that's the equivalent of 2 pounds per each side, and then right on up.
Hey, Charles, maybe it's because I'm a novice beekeeper. I'm still yet to complete Adam's course, and Adam, I might have to ask for an extension later on. So do they build and fill that out like is it completely filled with honey? Is there a gap in there? Is it like a frame up and down? What does the honey look like in there, or the build out look in there?
Well, if you look at my webpage, the one introduction, there is a capped box of honey. That's what you will see when you look at the side. Inside here, again, you only want to, you can either leave this totally blank, that you did nothing at all, and the engineers will understand what to do in that space. if you want to give them an incentive, I take a little bit of beeswax, rub the back wall. There you go. Rub the back wall. And the engineers, hey, got that scent and that feel of that wax right there. They know what to do, and they start drawing out the comb. You don't use foundation. So you just have no expense in foundation at all. And other people do several different things. And again, those are all described on my page, which you're looking at parts of it right now.
So how do you know, or is it built from the front back? So there's definitely nothing behind that comb. If I close that up and I give it to a customer, there's not going to be anything behind it like dead bees.
A void or anything. Well, with this, again, with this design on the back wall, that's where the foundation equivalent would be located. So there can't be anything on the back wall but the foundation that the bees make themselves and pulling forward the cells. There can't be anything else there. Otherwise, they would not draw out that cell. And when you have these lined up horizontally, there is nothing in between each different set. And with the design, you don't even have the concerns or issues dealing with burr comb, because there's no space for burr comb. When you set this up 5 wide, which is 10 frames, five of these duplex boxes on this, on the outside edge, there's about a 1/4 inch of space left in between. So the bees don't even have access along the outside walls. And so they can't even propolize there. But there is enough space so that if you got one on the sunny side, that you don't have to worry about the box getting heated up as well. There was another thought that I had, but I just lost it. But again, there is no situation that would allow for a void or any other deleterious in behind. There's just not the opportunity for that to happen.
How do you uncap those?
How do you uncap it?
Yeah.
You put it on the table. You take your fork, your butter knife, whatever, and enjoy your comb honey. Oh, that was to the subject right there. A little bit ago, somebody was mentioned about cut comb. You know what happens immediately when you put a knife to a comb of honey. You have a mess everywhere that you're going to have to clean up. Even if you use the clamshells, you got a mess that is just sometimes rather challenging to deal with. In my situation, this box, after you seal it up, that's it. You have now a protected box. You don't have any opportunity for leakage or anything else. Oh, and you'll notice also in my commentary, my videos, when your customers buy this, make sure that you put all your labeling onto the box, either have me engrave it or put your stickers on it or brand it or whatever, so that the friends of your customer knows where to get this. They don't even have to ask. And the other item is, have your customers bring the box back and just drop it right back into the hive and let the bees refill it.
Hey, so Charles, there's a question out there, and what type of wood are you using for that?
Yes, I can understand that completely. The old boxes used a solid piece of basswood. You really cannot find anybody out there. I have bee suppliers asking me right now for my product because they cannot get section comb boxes anymore for their customers. Basswood is a real challenge to get. So I did a lot of research, and the best that I could come up with is actually a poplar wood, but it's a poplar plywood, 3-ply plywood and poplar on the outsides. So there is some glue, but you know, in a manufacturing company, they want to use as least amount of glue as possible. in my process of producing this, I actually burn these with a laser. It's laser cut, so it seals off any of that material from entering. And then the last item, your honey never gets in contact with the plywood anyway, because it's always encased in wax, starting at the back wall through the cell wall build out, and then with the cappings at the end. So even if I had the plastic or glues or anything of this nature, your honey is never going to be contaminated by that because of the protection of wax.
Hey, Charles, the next question is, what does it cost?
A box and a lid, cost about the same amount as you buying a jar and a lid, about the same cost. I was just working on my spreadsheet here just a little bit ago, but you're looking at about $2, rough number, $2 for a box. But here's the other kicker to this. Instead of getting $7 or $9 a pound, the market price for this right now, median price, is about $30 a pound. So the cost of materials outweighs the profit margin, or excuse me, underweights the product material sale price. So you actually have a much bigger margin, but you have a lot lower cost because you don't need spinners and capping tools and all the associated and cleanup and labor and all this. It's just a finished product when you're done. So it's actually cheaper on your side to produce. But if you also look at online, Walmart, and look at Savannah Beef Company, it ranges from $65 to $80 a pound. So how you develop your market is entirely yours. I can't deal with that. But if the median price right now for this material at $30 versus $7 to $9, and your labor cost a whole lot lower, your material costs a whole lot lower, your equipment costs that much lower, it just means your profit margin is that much greater. And again, save your back at the end of the day.
Hey, so Charles, let me get this, let me just understand. So $2 per box. If I had $2 or a credit card, how do I get in contact with you, or how do I buy one of them?
Marvelous question. I have been dealing with people direct. It does get to be a little bit challenging handling production, packaging, and taking orders and shipping out individual and all that of this nature. So I've actually started the process of picking up distributors. In Colorado, I just picked up Fuller B, as they're going to be promoting and selling and inventorying the product right there in Colorado to take care of the Central West area that way. He also is working on expanding with other distributors as well. But in needs situation, yeah, I will make sure that a person receives my product. Either I will direct them to their closest distributor, or I'll deal with them direct.
So do you want us, say Joe Ricker wants them tomorrow? Do you want me to message you on Facebook and say, this is what I want? You'll coordinate that $2 payment process?
Yes, sir. And now keep in mind too, your standard hive is going to hold about 40 boxes of the 1 pound. And then you have the opportunity to go to the half pound. So that if you did just the half pounds, you're going to be dealing with 80 boxes. And right on around this way, but all of these are interchangeable in size. So 4 of the samplers will take up the space of one 1 pounder, or 2 of the half pounders. So you can mix and match in your hive. But so you really want to have at least 1 full super full of the boxes. So that'll give you a starting point. If you choose to have a few extra boxes, then what fills your hive? Then you have the luxury of just removing what is ready, dropping another one in. You never have to worry about your bees running out of space because you're always giving them room as they fill. And
Hey,
that's
hey,
one of the benefits there.
hey, Charles, did you say there is a distributor in Colorado? Can you say the name of that company again?
Oh, Fuller Bee Supply.
And is there a distributor in the Midwest, like Michigan or anything yet?
That'd be me. Well, and then I also have Tom Hadfield. He's just getting started. He's in the hospital right now, but Tom Hadfield. I'm in Michigan myself, just outside of Bay City, just barely out of Bay City. And I already have my product in Europe and in Canada, and I've had requests to send to Australia and other countries outside, but I do have my boxes in basically the full four corners of the United States as well. Dixie right now is picking up a lot of materials because they're preparing for their winter supply.
Charles, do you have any recommendations on when to switch out if somebody were a beekeeper and wanted to switch to this? Would you say in between seasons? I know you could say anytime, but is there a best time with the bees and their habits?
In the normal process of working with bees, me personally, I'm not going to go back to frames at all ever. Just no need for that, because that's a lot more labor and equipment and other cost, and I get a lower premium for my product. So in the early spring, I'll be dropping supers straight on top, and they will stay there clear to fall harvest. And then in the last item on that is I don't leave honey over winter at all. I just do not leave honey in the hive over winter. I allow them to pull in nectar, and that way they have a water source through the winter, and the survive rate is so much better if you do remove all your honey. So my boxes on here work really well with that arenas at the same time.
Could you talk more about that? I don't understand. You don't leave any honey for them?
No, if there's honey in the brood chamber, that stays.
Okay, fine. Yes. Okay.
But if there's a super on top, it's only there for them to put, and I try to take out all honey that I can. I want them to have pollen. I want them to store up some pollen, especially in my area here. We got the goldenrod right now going on. So let them pull in the pollen and pull in all the nectar that they can for the overwinter. But if you talk with Gail Moore, who is also another bee expert, he's adamant. He will go into the deeps. He'll go into the brood chambers and take out the sides that have no brood on them, but are storing up honey. He'll pull that out also so that they just have nectar. And he hasn't lost. I think he runs around 500 hives, and he loses maybe one or two a winter. And it's very rare for him to lose that many.
Thank you.
Super. Hey, so the next question really was for Ned. Ned, any thoughts on the process or how something like this, and maybe it's a good example just to think through, because we'll probably get some of these in the future, how we put a product or an idea like this into the AgrAbility toolbox.
Yes, this is absolutely something that we'll put in there just for the lower weightlifting, and not sure what the sound is.
Let me make you guys an offer.
Uh,
Why don't you guys
sorry, that
allow
was
me?
coming from my screen.
Why don't you allow me to basically allow you to be a
We have a panel of people. We meet every Wednesday morning at 10:30, and we go through new proposals to put into the toolbox, and I will recommend this item goes there. I went through just 2 meetings ago, Joe, when I was not able to be on. I listened to the recording and there was discussions of getting more items into the toolbox because they would be available. Was it through the Farmer Veteran Coalition scholarships to be able to
Yeah.
purchase things as assistive technology
Yep.
if they were in the toolbox? Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The Wounded Warriors providing them money, and then the AgrAbility toolbox is going to be kind of the vetting process for it.
Could I offer to you the ability to inventory this for your people at a discount so that on the sale of that product, you actually can bank up some monies for your organizations in expanding, working with bees and honey?
So Charles, I don't know if Ned wants to take it or me, but AgrAbility is a nonprofit. So we don't put any money into it. Some of the people on here do beekeeping professionally or commercially. What we're talking about is there is like a Google search that we put items into that somebody with a physical challenge can look into and then say, this is how I want to do beekeeping or other things. There's hive lifters and the like. We don't endorse, nor do we buy it. We just put it in there for kind of sharing of knowledge. Did I say that well, Ned?
Yeah, can you allow me to share my screen, Joe?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Will do. I think you can do it now, Ned.
Okay. So what I was saying is I went through the toolbox after that discussion about the items in the toolbox that could be available for scholarships through Farmer Veteran Coalition. And I came up with about 150 different items that are in different parts of the toolbox that would help a beekeeper, but it's not specifically in the beekeeping section. So if we go into the toolbox, into specialty enterprises and beekeeping, we have maybe 50 items here in the beekeeping section, or 30. And Charles, this is the section probably where we would put your item. These are just different types of hive equipment. And so, for instance, this is a rotatable beehive system that someone has created. And so we would make a entry similar to this, describe your product, how it works, how it helps, and then we would put your contact information in here below to make the information available to beekeepers who would benefit from it. But I talked with the toolbox group about the other 120 items perhaps that are in the toolbox that would help beekeepers. And they said, well, we want to make sure that the beekeeping section of the toolbox is uniquely for beekeeping. But if someone is a beekeeper and it would be helpful for them to have some sort of a cart for moving things around in their apiary, like a powered wagon or something like that. You could go here into this other section, and there is lots of powered wheelbarrows here. So if here's motorized wheelbarrows. So there's a lot of things in the toolbox that would be helpful to a beekeeper that are not necessarily in the beekeeping section. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that very well, Joe?
No, that makes sense to me.
And so I don't know if it would be helpful, perhaps I could send out that list of items and say, here, if you want to look at these other things in the toolbox that might be helpful to you in your aviary. There's a lot of things in the shop section. special tools, different kinds of grip gloves to help lift things. And so they would be more likely in the shop section. I was gonna demonstrate here in the search function in the toolbox. I just gonna put in this idea of a tool balancer, that if you were working in your shop building frames and you're holding an air nailer or something and it's becoming difficult for your shoulder or your hand, this is a spring tension tool that would go above your tool bench and it would support the weight of your air nailer so that you didn't have to hold the weight of it. You're basically just moving it around horizontally when you're putting together your equipment. So there are some new things that are going to be going into the toolbox. One of them is going to be the set of high lifter tongs that I demonstrated out at Adam Ingrayo's place last month. It seems to get good reviews from the people there for being able to use a pickup truck crane and a set of homemade tongs to be able to lift 1, 2, 3, or 4 hive bodies at a time without using your back. So I'm going to stop screen sharing and maybe I'll bring up a picture of that from when I was out at Adams.
Hey, so while you're doing that, Ned, we had a question of, is there any opportunity, Charles, where if somebody were a client of somebody on the meeting, you know, that they could mention that they worked with AgrAbility, that then you could apply a discount since your business is very direct in nature?
Yes, I would do that. I'd make up a special price list that possibly you guys could post to your people that would give a discount and have a direct delivery.
And then the other thing we might need, and Ned, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we probably just need a little bit more of a technical description, do you think, on that for the toolbox?
Yes, and probably what we usually do is write up our first description. We'll go and look at your Facebook page, Charles. We'll write up our first description of it, and then we'll go back and send it to you for your input, how you would edit it.
I would appreciate that as well. Would we also want, for the people in the different regions, would we want to identify different distributors because they might have that on shelf that they could come by and physically touch and see in their location? Would that be beneficial or more harmful?
Well, if you have distributors already that carry your product, we could mention where they're at. Otherwise, people can call you directly and then you can tell them, oh, we've got a distributor in your area. Go check out so-and-so.
Yeah, because you can imagine on my side, if the more calls that I get, which is continuously expanding, the less time I have per. That's why
Right.
I'm working on both having the descriptions online, plus also working on distributors as well.
Yeah, so if you would, once we start corresponding about this in the next few weeks, you can share with me who your list of distributors are. And maybe is that already on your Facebook page that people can find a local distributor through that?
Actually, no, I'm just finalizing that. I didn't want to start
Okay.
putting that until I had enough to
Yep.
cover the region. So,
Okay. I'm going to share my screen here again. And this is we had a group of students at Michigan State University that designed this system for lifting hives. It's basically a set of tongs. The heavier it is, the more it pinches, and it has some fingers that grab in the boxes. And we just used a standard pickup truck crane. And it would swing to the side, lift and swing. Worked pretty well, didn't it, Adam? It's pretty easy to move.
Yeah, it did, and it was very stable. I was actually I was kind of actually surprised at how stable it was.
Would you like for me to mention a a commercial keeper in Canada that has a boom system that's mounted to his trucks that's articulating at the same time, but his clamping mechanism is fixed in size, and where you see where this is attaching to the bodies,
Yeah,
there's two little flaps that just drop down to catch on the handholds, and they lock it this way, and then it releases when it lets down, and then it also has the ability to mount on a forks, so should they want to move pallets of boxes at a time, doing the same thing. I was just watching some of his vids online.
yeah, I'd definitely be interested in seeing that. We're always on the lookout for uh, different ways to do beekeeping that's easier on a person's body. And if we can take some of the commercial equipment concepts and scale it down to be useful for someone with maybe 20 hives, we're all ears for that kind of thing. So if you don't mind sharing that with us, Charles, that would be great.
I'll forward you a link, and it won't take you but a minute to say, hey, this is pretty neat and device that this guy's got. And he actually can take as many as 10 supers deep at a lift.
Okay.
On just a vertical, not a pallet of boxes, but as many as 10 high.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey Ned,
go ahead,
Yeah.
Jeff.
I sent you and Joe a couple pictures. It is the hive that Horizontal Bees in North Carolina designed. It's a long laying straw.
Okay.
So it takes laying straw hives and it actually tilts 45 degrees toward me so that I can use it from the wheelchair.
Okay. And you sent us some pictures of that, Justin?
Yeah, I texted you.
Okay.
Justin, was that more of the Layerns style hive?
So I do have a lay-in style hive as well on our learning apiary from Bearsville Bees in West Virginia. This is actually a long laying straw, so it has about 30 frames in it, and it has it allows for the flow hive supers as well, or the flow hive frames, and it tilts 45 degrees towards me and locks in place so that I can pull my wheelchair right up to it and pull them out. It's similar to pulling out like a AZ hive, but it's not like straight out like a book because there is a little bit of a tilt, and the entrance only moves a little bit, so they shouldn't have an issue finding the entrance when they're coming back from foraging after it's tilted.
The reason why I was also asking is this. I didn't want to leave the Layerns style hives out of the picture as well, and I already have built a similar box that goes with the horizontal hives, so they can have the opportunity to have the same box system with the horizontals.
Oh, cool. Well, I sent you a message on Facebook so we can talk more about it.
I appreciate it.
I'm sharing my screen to show you what Justin just sent me.
That's completely doable. I would need to know frame size so that I could specifically cut boxes that would fit your box.
They're just regular normal laying straw frames.
Okay.
So is this your place, Justin? Is this set up at your place?
Yes, it is. I just got it delivered Saturday. So I'll have bees in it in the spring, and then I'll have videos online about it over winter. I'm going to do a video without bees on how it works. And then in the spring, I'm going to do videos with the bees in it.
Now, are you going to double queen this, or are you going to single queen?
Single queen.
Because that right there would be a perfect example for using a double queen system.
That's not a bad idea. So I'll think about that. The right side is where the flow supers go. And then he built a queen excluder that's like a Langstroth, and it's a Langstroth frame, and it covers 3/4 of the frame with wood. And then it has a about 3-inch queen excluder at the top of the frame that allows them to move from the 2 panels on the left to the 1 panel on the right where the super is going to go.
Yeah, I'd love to talk with you about that, on how you can set this up on a double queen system, which gives you also the benefit, should you lose a queen, your hive is still alive and active at the same time.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk.
Okay, well, I appreciate all these ideas that we can keep building out the toolbox for beekeeping. And Adam and I are working together to pull together a publication on assistive technology for accessible beekeeping, so we can hopefully in the next year we'll have that all done. But I'll send out the list of items that I thought were useful for beekeepers in the rest of the toolbox that you can check out too.
I'm looking how to post something onto here on this. I've never posted. Where's your chat on this so I can give you a link? Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. Let's see. All right, I just sent a link, and he's got a whole series of videos, and it's not talking necessarily about his truck, but if you watch through his videos, you'll see his truck and its operation and his lifting mechanism, where he's dealing with 2 or 3 ton truck, and how he stacks his hives, his honey supers, taking them to the honey house, and they don't lift anything. This machine just swings over, grabs a hold of it, swing it over and put it on the truck, just slick and easy. And then when they pick up a pallet of 4 boxes, it goes straight onto the truck just as easily as well by using forks.
That's Ian Stepler, right?
Say again?
That's Ian Stepler, right?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I know him well.
Yeah, I would love to talk with him, and just haven't had the opportunity and prepared to speak with him, but I'd love to speak with him about my system and how he could possibly incorporate that into his business if he wanted to do such a thing.
All right, I'll see if I can send him a message. I know he's really busy. He usually does his product stuff in the winter.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was pretty much seeing that through his. I was watching hours of his vids.
Okay, I was gonna post just kind of jumping back to the start of our conversation before we close for today, just circling back to our thoughts about the hive life, and just trying to do hopefully a demonstration room. And Charles, it would be great if we could have your some of your items there to demonstrate at the Hive Life conference. And
I'd be most pleased in sending at least 2 supers worth of materials so that a person could actually play, and no bees involved.
Yeah.
Play
Yeah.
and look at how they could set up sampler boxes, half boxes, and full boxes, and even if you took some frames, take some shallow frames with you as well, how you can mix and match with regular frames too.
Yeah, so Charles, as we get closer, and you're always welcome to attend this COI,
Yeah.
If we get closer, I'll send out instructions. Maybe you just want to mail it to the hotel if you're not going to make it, or package it and send it to the hotel and we can demonstrate it. I'm sure there'll be 101 hive boxes laying around that we can work out a demonstration for you. I think we're going to try to video it. So as we get closer to Hive Life, we can package that up and put it there as well. And I would also mention it wouldn't be bad, Ned, to do the national training workshop as well, right?
Sure. Yeah, it could be. Joe, it looks like there's probably going to be a session there on accessible beekeeping, so we can include this as a demonstration there. Maybe we do a demonstration room at the National Training Workshop also.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll mention that on the next conference.
Okay.
Yeah, just give me the whatever logistics that you need and so forth. And I don't know, but I'll do this real quick for you as well. There you go. Now you got my phone number as well. Text or phone or send me a message through Facebook.
Great. We can probably save this chat and then we'll have all this information. Joe can send out a summary of our chat.
Absolutely. And I'll send out the recording too. So
Now, would you allow me to put a link on my page to your recording as well for anybody that wants to listen to this discussion?
oh, I'm fine with that. Ned, do you see any issues with it?
No, we're making it public, so it's more publicity for our community of interest group. That'll be great, Charles. Thank you.
Okay, well, I thank you, Charles, for your ideas and presentation today. Does anybody have any last comments or questions?
Yes, sir.
All right, super. Thank you again. And I'll send out a note as to when the next community of interest is. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a
I was
great day.
pleased to come.
See ya.